Good evening, Europe. Eurovision Ireland is back, and here we're going to be reviewing a national final. Not a winning one this time, but we've gone for one that chose a host song. We've gone for the 17th Irish National Song Contest, which took place in 1981, and chose a certain song to sing in Dublin. I won't spoil it for you just yet. But let's just say hello, everybody. Here's the team again.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
It's a great contest, I'm sure everyone will agree. Full of different styles and something for everyone, maybe?
One way of putting it.
Okay, we'll set the scene. As I say, it took place in March 1981. It was hosted by Mike Murphy. It was a big star on RTE at the time. It took place at RTE's TV studios, no theatre or anything this time. And we were introduced to Shay Healy, who wrote the song, the winning song the previous year. He was there as a roving reporter in the lobby, seems to be believed. The show started with a medley played by the orchestra of the previous winners of the song contest that had gone forward to the Eurovision. We then got a bit of blurb, and then it was straight into song number one. Sorry, it's song A. Letters, not numbers this time. And that was Not Tonight by Josephine by Tara. And here's a short clip.
Not tonight, Josephine, not tonight. Not tonight, Josephine, not tonight. You can live and look and honey, though it's later than the later. Love a man of money when the guy's a lying pig. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Not tonight, Josephine, not tonight. Not tonight, Josephine, not tonight. Not tonight, Josephine, not tonight. No, no, no. Not tonight, Josephine, not tonight.
Right, first to dissect that one is Bogdan.
Hi again, everyone. Yeah, that's a start. We see marching, the famous expression, not tonight, Josephine, with allusion to Napoleon. Could this be maybe a copy of ABBA? Everybody's thinking about it. But for me, the song didn't work. It didn't go anywhere. It was just a bit too gimmicky and repetitive, and actually I got bored by the end of it. That's my opinion.
James.
I was going to say I have to agree with Bogdan. The moment it started, it had a very dramatic opening. I was like, oh, this is going to be good. I was like, not tonight, Josephine. I was like, okay, it's quite upbeat, it's quite poppy. By the third, not tonight, Josephine, I was like, this is basically the song, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with this. To echo what Bogdan said, I did think it was a very much trying to be the next ABBA and Waterloo. You look at them, costumes for sort of very early ABBA from sort of mid-70s, an allusion to Napoleon and everything. So I think they had an idea. I just don't think it was realised in sort of the way they were expecting. There was a lovely moment at the end. I think there was supposed to be quite a dramatic key change, and it just seems like they gave up halfway through. Sort of, it's a shame. It was a lovely idea, but yeah, it was executed in quite a dull way for sort of glam rock costumes and things. Yeah, sorry, it didn't work for me.
Richard.
I have to agree, it was very repetitive in places, and I thought quite monotone too. Not completely throughout, but a lot of it sounded very boring. And then the flamboyant outfits, I got the impression of Ziggy Stardust with like the lightning bolts down the front. But that's about it. But that was certainly a Barbara Dex contender, had Barbara Dex been abound there.
Sarah, what did you think?
Well, I have to say, growing up in the 80s, so obviously I'm a big fan sort of 80s culture and music, and I have to say that the outfits, I agree with Richard, sort of very flamboyant, very Ziggy Stardust kind of thing, shiny white and pink. Yeah, okay. As for the song itself, yes, I agree. It is very repetitive, getting a lot of Not Tonight, Josephine. having said that, I wonder what the French might have made of it if it had gone to Eurovision, you know, because we got the interlude with the French national anthem in there, very patriotic for them. It just, for me, it was a stand-up, but it just went on a little bit too long for me, very repetitive, and I got bored towards the end of it.
Yeah, I think it's a song of its time. Certainly looking at it in 2020, it's not aged very well, you know, 39 years on. Yeah, what I noticed, the Marseillaise was a standout bit for me. Aside from their silver and pink or white and pink outfits, which were, yeah, eye-catching, retina detaching, one of the two. And I thought the song, growing up in that sort of era as well, they were trying to be Boney M. How Boney M told the story about Rasputin and Ma Baker and things like that. They were trying to tell a story in song in that sort of style. And no one could do Boney M like Boney M, and certainly not a five-piece Banquetara. So, yeah, on first, I think by the time you get to song C, song D, it was going to be a bit forgotten. And I think the juries eventually reflected that. So, if we had to do a thumbs up or a thumbs down for that one, what do you reckon? Sorry, Tara, if you're watching. Now, let's moving swiftly on to song B. Song B is The One in My Life, and it's performed by Nicola Kerr. And here's a short clip. Nicola Kerr was previously one of the +2 with the Swarbrigs in Wembley. So she's got a bit of experience. And we're going to start this one with James.
Right, so, you know, a moment ago we were saying that Not Tonight Josephine was sort of very much of its time, sort of the early 80s. To me, this almost felt a bit ahead of its time. It sort of gave me that feeling of like a 90s ballad. I mean, beautifully performed. She connects with the camera fantastically. One thing I did find very strange was for the first, I'd say at least a minute of the song, the only camera shot was sort of just slowly getting closer to her. And it was sort of very static, but it was a really unusual technique. I just remember thinking, this looks weird. But otherwise, she connected very well. It was a very Broadway style song, that sort of very heartfelt ballad. Bit ahead of its time. I thought it was actually a good job, and I think it stood out from what came before it because it was a much more mature, much more together performance.
Richard, what was your take on that song?
I have to agree with James. Really good connectivity with the camera. She also had really good vocals, but one thing stood out for me. She was a bit wooden. She just seemed to stand there and no movement, no swaying, and it just seemed a bit rabbit in headlights. But that just might be my opinion, but definitely a bit wooden.
Yeah, fair enough. Sarah?
Yeah, I have to go with Richard on this one. I certainly agree with the part about her being wooden. I had exactly the same feeling with her about that. Wasn't really that impressed with her outfit. She looked as if she'd actually just been squeezed into it, I think. To me, it was a nice enough ballad, but sort of not enough to stand out like some of the Irish ballads that we've seen that came along in future years. But all in all, you could tell the professionalism there with her having had experience with the Swarbrigs before. Yeah, very nice. Whether it would have done well at Eurovision and that in that era, not sure. I think it's a thumbs down from me again.
Yeah, I still agree. I mean, I saw it, and this isn't a contest song, it's a show tune. It would fit very well in a musical. You know, something big like Chicago or something like that. When they need a big sort of musical song just to end and like Act One or something before an interval, something like that. Apart from that, it was just really a ballad of its time, I think. Although it was very electric guitar, there was a bit of an electric guitar riff going off in there, which I think was sort of a remnant from the 70s. And we all know how Eurovision is always bang up to date. It's never about 6 or 7 years behind current trends at all, oh dear me, no. So in Eurovision terms, the electric guitar was bang up to date. Bogdan.
Yeah, I must agree with everyone. I thought it was a really good ballad. And for me, she gave me a vibe like Barbara Streisand, just a little bit. But okay, this is a good ballad, and she connected well with the camera when she had the chance, of course, with the camera angles and good vocals. So for me, it's quite a thumbs up. Not all the way up, but going there.
Okay, so what's our views, thumbs, guys? Okay, it's about a 50-50 split there, I think. Yeah, better than song A anyway. Right, moving on to song C. Now this was simply titled Horoscopes by a band called Sheba. Careful now. And here's a short clip.
Working, not waiting, that forever will hold. Success comes from what we do, not from what we're told. And having a lucky start is living on most hope. Don't let the planets take control of our lives. Believe in the truth and not celestial lies. Between us the stars above who write our horoscope. Virgos and Aries, Leos, Aquarius, Pisces, Cancerians show. No matter when we're born, Libra or Capricorn, Taurus or Scorpio flow.
Right, Sheba consisted of, I've got to consult my notes here, Francis, Marion and Maxi. Maxi has done her stuff before, so she knows exactly what she should be doing. Let's start with Richard this time.
I'm going to be very positive to begin with and then be a bit more negative. So positives, I thought they had good vocal harmonies, they sang well together, and everything seemed to be in sync, routine, you know, everything. But the negative bit, what were they wearing? It was like Doctor Who aliens. And I just thought, that doesn't look right for a Eurovision stage, but hey ho. It was the 80s after all.
It was the 80s. Sarah. Oh.
Right. Well, I felt actually this was the most polished performance up to this point in the contest, and I'm not surprised that it went on to win. Yeah, good vocals, sang in harmony. With regards to the outfits, I can see the point of it because after all, the song is called Horoscopes, so that insinuates telling the future. And if you think about sort of in the mid to late 90s when you had Mystic Meg about on the TV, and much of her outfits were pretty similar with the big high collar, you can probably see where that comes from, because if you look at Sheba, you know, they're pretty similar in a way. So I can see the point of the outfits, ridiculous as it probably looked. But I think that sort of went with the song, really. It's a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I really liked it. I mean, I've got used to it over the years because we know what happened to it in the end. And it made number 3 in the Irish chart. And it was written by a guy who'd written a Eurovision song before. He wrote Kjollen Grah. Joe Perkins, who co-wrote Kjollen Grah from 1972. And it was just polished. Yeah, they knew what they were doing. I'm sure when it got to the Eurovision itself, the arrangement was very slightly different. Maybe because there was a bigger orchestra, and that's the only bit I couldn't get to grips with. But I think it's because I've only really ever known the Eurovision performance and not a national final performance. But of course, yeah, it's the best one so far. It didn't have much competition, to be honest. Well done.
I must agree. It was a great song, a fun song from the beginning. You could sing along as well. The choreography was there, simply but efficient. And for one, I enjoyed the costume. They were like quirky, like we are all stars and I don't know, aliens. But we're telling you the horoscope, so it's all fine. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Bogdan. And James?
Yeah, I don't have much to add really. I think it just had instant impact for me. The moment it started up, it had quite upbeat music, which I think coming after quite a slow ballad, and another song that didn't quite get there, I think it immediately had impact. What they were wearing grabs your attention. You know, there's no getting around it. You sort of look at it and thinking, nothing about this should work, but it does. That was my sort of reaction to it. So yeah, it was upbeat, it was fun, it had that sing-along quality, and I think it was the most well-rounded performance, definitely at that point. And I think as the final went on, I can see why it did as well as it did.
Yeah, I think the outfits in the early 80s, it was we had Buck Rogers was very popular, and Battlestar Galactica was very popular. So like, the spacey theme was big in the late 70s, early 80s. So I think maybe an audience at the time just wouldn't have batted an eyelid over some of the interesting choice of costumes that we actually watched when we saw these songs. Anyway, moving to song D, which was "Can't Be Without You" by Tony Kenny. And here's a short clip of him.
I love the way you smile, kind of shy and kind of wild, and I miss your special style when I'm without you. Nothing in the world would ever make me change my view. Nothing in the world I wouldn't do, sweet girl, for you. I love the way you kiss. Close your eyes, but you never miss. You're number one on my every list. Can't be without you.
Right, Tony was a massive star in Ireland. He'd been making records since the late 60s. And he, under the name Kenny, he'd had a hit in the UK called Heart of Stone in 1973. So he'd been around a lot, and he was a big star. Like many of the acts that we saw, they were big names. So, Sarah, what was your take on Can't Be Without You?
Right, well, firstly, when I saw that Brendan Graham was the composer, I was expecting great things because he wrote The Voice by Amir Quinn in 1996. So I thought, oh, this is going to be good here. And I actually found myself being sort of quite disappointed. The only male solo artist in the contest, obviously sort of, you know, the way he's dressed, very handsome looking, probably trying to pull the younger vote a little bit, you know. Vocals, I was quite disappointed with the vocals, really. I thought it was a very bland song, quite boring. I think it would probably have been a good radio song as opposed to a Eurovision song, because I think if it had gone to Eurovision, I don't think it would have achieved Johnny Logan's Dizzy Heights at all. And I felt at times he was actually shouting the vocals rather than actually singing them. And I felt outfit-wise, maybe a little bit old-fashioned even for the 80s, I'd say.
Yeah, and I don't really know much more about Tony Kenny's work, but if he's been around a long time, it can't be that bad. And he must have been capitalising thinking he could capitalise on the fact that a male vocalist won in 1980, and male vocalists represented Ireland in 78 and 79 as well. So he obviously thought he was onto a good thing. I just found it too middle of the road. I mean, again, middle of the road was probably De Rigueur in 1981, and it sounded, I don't know if it was the title that inspired me, but I just thought it sounded a bit like Can't Smile Without You by Barry Manilow. I was getting that in it. And to be honest, I'd expect better from Brendan Graham than that. Yeah, not a winner. There were better songs that night. Bogdan.
I must admit, I found his performance a bit awkward, on both of the awkward side. I enjoyed it. He was very passionate, and it was quite memorable. But some of those moves maybe like cringe a little bit. But I think it was memorable. For the right reasons, I don't know. But yeah, I don't have many words about this song.
James.
Yeah, it did feel ever so slightly awkward. It for me, the dancing, it was almost like, look, I'm down with the young people and not quite getting there. Sarah mentioned something about it sort of feeling a bit outdated and things. I remember listening to it and thinking, if this had entered Eurovision in 1953, if they'd had Eurovision then I think it would have been onto a winner. I think in the 80s, it was that sort of kind of music was sort of already moving on. It's not a bad song per se. It's very radio friendly. It's sort of quite upbeat, nice dancey, but yeah, you can't fault his enthusiasm. I'll end on the positive. You can't fault his enthusiasm in that performance.
Always good to end on a positive, James. Richard.
Yeah, he certainly, worked the stage rail. He had good connection. But I'll keep this brief. I did feel like he was a bit of a Jack the Lad at times, the way he was too over-enthusiastic. But that was just the impression I got. A bit of a Jack the Lad.
Okay, so how are our thumbs for Tony Kenny then? Sorry, Tony. We're sure you've done better stuff than that. Right, moving on. Song E, Share My Love by Helen Jordan. And here she is.
Crazy people fighting over nothing but a bone. In my heart I ask myself where all the need has gone. Fighting is so senseless when it's lost its dignity. And in the end the only ones that hurts are you and me. Ah-da-dum, ah-da-dee. Share my love with me. Ah-da-dum, ah-da-dee. Life taken without reason is a cause without effect. And there will be no peace on earth unless we have respect. After all, it's just a ball God gave us all to share. A stepping stone to something better, far beyond compare. Ah-da-dum, ah-da-dee. Share my love with me.
Right, yeah, I didn't really know what to make of this one. There's a nice violin in there somewhere. I always look like a good violin. You can't beat a good violin. I can always say that. And it seemed like it was written, there's someone who just got hold of the big book of rhyming words just to put together a song, really. And then when they run out of the big book of rhyming words, they just went to Arda-dum, Arda-dee. And I didn't get it. I'm sorry, Helen, if you're watching, I just didn't get it. Again, I'm sure you've done better stuff than that in your time. That's all I can really say on that one. What did you reckon, Bogdan?
I must agree. You just can't take this song seriously. It looks like it's written by a child. Ah da 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 dee. Like, honestly, like I was looking and okay, why? Can somebody tell me why? So, why me? Why do I have to listen to this? Okay. Sorry, she's a great singer. Obviously, like she could definitely do better. So I don't think this song is representative for her. That's my opinion.
Fair enough. James.
Ah-da-dum, ah-dee-dee, oh dear me. That was... When it started, it sort of had that almost feeling of like Genghis Khan. Ooh, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. And like you said, it was strange in the fact that at the beginning it felt a bit like a horror. It was sort of like building up speed and getting in stuff. And I was like, ooh, okay, this is good. Ah-da-dum, ah-dee-dee. I was like, she's run out of words. Okay, that's... I can't fault her enthusiasm. She really was trying so hard to sell that performance, and she looks like she's having the time of her life performing it. But no, sorry, I think that would have, had that gone to Eurovision, I think that would have been a case of Austria hosting and top of the table.
Richard, follow that.
With James mentioned the speed of the singing, the first thing that caught my eye was thinking, is she leaving any time to breathe? I just thought she would just sing, and I was thinking she's not breathing. Choreography-wise, she did like her swaying, but that's about it, really.
Fair enough. Sarah?
Well, I'm going to echo the thoughts of everybody else to start with, and just put in a few things of my own. I thought it was a dreadful song. It doesn't really go anywhere. It's just full of la la la, dum dum da da da. The vocals weren't great. I didn't feel she engaged with the camera at all. I always felt it was like someone had dragged her off the street and asked her to sing the song at short notice. Yes. I really.
And she forgot the lyrics.
Fair enough. Really? Yeah. Okay. Moving swiftly on to song F. That's right. Yeah, song F. Because Where Does That Love Come From by the Dusky Sisters. Here they are.
I gotta know how to reach it the first thing in the morning, even before I try to get out of my bed. I gotta know how to keep it with me when I'm eating. I don't want to lose it for no big hunk of bread. I want to take it into town and shake it up everybody around. Just as soon as I found where does that love come from, like a river pouring over me. Where does that love come from? The loving river of Normandy. What makes that river flow? What makes that flower grow? Where does that love come from? I gotta know.
Right, the Dusky Sisters, not to be confused with the Duskies, who took part a year later because they gained a non-sister in 1982. Who's going to lead on this one? Let's start with Bogdan.
Well, I can only say that the love does not come from that performance. They tried it, really tried. They were so focused on getting all the moves and all the poses right that they forget to connect with the camera. They were so, oh, we have to do this and we have to do this and that. And yes, it was enthusiastic. It had a good rhythm. But for me, it was like, okay, you're trying way too hard to get it all right and all perfect, and you're not getting it perfect. So you've tried, and there were times they were out of sync, but a good effort, a really good effort. That's my opinion.
James.
Yeah, it was. As a song, it's sort of very sweet, very inoffensive. It's that sort of bubblegum pop, and you think, yeah, okay, this is pleasant enough to listen to. But it was sort of sweet, bordering on insipid. It didn't really grab my attention. I did notice with the choreography, one sister was just ever so slightly behind everyone else, which was kind of distracting to watch. But in terms of choreography, I actually thought it was one of the better performances of the night. You could tell that a lot of thought had gone into that, and they were trying to sort of stay in time and give a bit of a performance. I think that was the saving thing. Song, okay, maybe not terribly impressive, but as a performance, I think it's one of the better ones of the night.
Richard.
Well, they had good harmonies. You can't fault that, but the synchronicity wasn't quite there like Sheba with horoscopes. But you couldn't get past the fact that they're dressed in all that baby pink and that silver bling, dressed like Barbie dolls. You couldn't escape that. But apart from that, yeah, it was all right.
Sarah?
Well, to start, I found the pink suits quite distracting, to say the least. I think they really did try hard, and it was quite sort of a jolly little number, or they attempted to make it into a jolly little number. But again, as others have said, a bit too sugar sweet, really, bordering on the insipid, really. Whether it would done well at Eurovision, I don't know. Being sort of the 80s being the time it was, possibly would have been mid-table. I don't think it would have been a winner.
I enjoyed it. I really liked it. Not quite as much as horoscopes, but again, we all know how that all turned out. But I really like this one. Looking at it, trying to look at it with 1981 eyes, the Nolans were doing this, and to a degree, the Pointer Sisters and Sister Slaves, they were all around at the similar sort of time. So it was the age of like the girl group who dressed like that and danced like that and sang like that. So they were they were bang on point with what they were doing. Would it have done better than horoscopes if it had won? I very much doubt it. It would have held its own, I think. having been in the same slot and what it was up against, it probably wouldn't have done as well as Horoscopes if it had got through, but I wouldn't have disliked it if it had. I actually quite like this one. It was slick. It was just there. Everything was as good as it could be for a song like that, and I liked it. What are we on? How are our thumbs for this one? Ooh, okay, just me then. Okay. Right, moving on. We're nearly there, folks. Song G, or the 7th song, is "Don't Walk Away" by Sylvia McFadden, and here's a short clip.
You ask me why I don't believe in a happy end. 'Cause I am not an optimist, and there's no need to pretend. I've got everything I want in you. You say you love me, and it's really true. Still, baby, what am I gonna do when you walk away? You ask me why I don't believe in a happy end. 'Cause I am not an optimist, and there's no need to pretend.
Right, apparently Sylvia McFadden comes from a famous family who are well known for their live performances around Ireland. So she obviously thought she got the kudos to be there. James.
Okay, I might hesitate a lot as I'm talking in this one because I am just trying to frame my thoughts constructively and not come across as really nasty, because I don't want to be nasty. But I feel the way she performed the song completely detracted from it. I felt she was, how do I say it? She was trying to be quite alluring, sort of, a lot of movement, a lot of shoulder swing and everything, but it was just coming off spectacularly wrong. She didn't connect very well with the camera. I think the sort of message of the song, sort of quite a sweet little plea. I think it would have suited someone younger to sing it, someone a bit more innocent. I think the performance just didn't work. And I found myself sort of towards the end of the song, I realised I've actually missed most of the song because I'm so distracted by what she's doing. So, sorry, I really struggled.
Fair enough. Richard, any words of comfort?
I think she over-projected the vocals. I thought they were quite loud, as if she wanted to make herself known. But in terms of the movements and looks into the camera, I want to use the word seductive. It's as if she's trying to lead the men in, But apart from that, I haven't really got anything else more to say.
Okay, fair enough. Sarah?
Pretty much echoing the way I feel there. I think that it was a nice enough song, but I don't think it was enough to engage my attention fully. In fact, I noticed at one point that the camera went towards the audience, and the audience looked just as bored as probably I was feeling at that point in time. I think it's the kind of song you'd probably sort of listen to on the radio. Not really for Eurovision, in my view.
Okay. I'll go next. Well, yeah. It was a variety show song. The sort of back in the 80s, you had these things called Seaside Special and Summertime Special on a Saturday evening, and it would have fitted perfectly into a show like that. It's not a contest song. If it was up against any other songs in the competitive way, it wouldn't have done that well, and it actually didn't do that well. And she broke one of the cardinal rules: is you never turn your back on the audience. I know it was all about "Don't Walk Away," but you don't turn your back on the audience. Not the way she did. That sort of thought, she's dying here. Yeah. Bogdan, let's see your views.
I must agree with everyone. Like she was singing "Don't Walk Away" and she was turning away, so mixed messages. The vocals were a bit towards the shouting side, and yeah, she was very insistent with her eye connection with so she was connecting with the camera when she or whenever she could. But that's the only positive thing I can say about the song.
Okay, how are our thumbs for this one then?
Sorry.
And the jury's agreed. Anyway, we're there. Song H. My Pet Parrot by Karen Black and the Nevada. Firstly, here's a short clip.
He looks so good in his colored feathers. Ooh, that funky parrot has it all together. Oh, well, that bird, yeah, he's a regent. One day my parrot may be the president. Yeah, my pet parrot plays the trombone, plays that sweet music when I'm feeling all alone. Sitting on my shoulder with his eyes closed, my parrot plays the trombone like nobody knows, and he plays.
Right, that was Karen Black and the Nevada. An interesting take. And we're going to start with Richard.
So we come to the piece de la resistance of the evening, maybe. How did Karen think people would take this so seriously? But you can't, to be fair, on a positive, you can't fault her vocals because she did carry the vocals very well. In terms of performance, at times the stage got very busy, and that did distract you from the actual song. How this came second, I do not know, but it certainly was an entertaining end to the main part of the show.
Sarah.
Entertaining, it certainly was, and I have to say that in a funny kind of way, I actually quite enjoyed it. It was quite a lively end to the whole show. It kind of came across to me a little bit as a mix of Le Papa Penguin from the year before, and in 1980, and then Dustin the Turkey, later on. So it was kind of a combination for me, a combination of those two. It certainly stood out for me, let's just say that. And I think sometimes when you've got a contest like this where you've got a combination of the bland stuff with the slightly better stuff and then the stuff that does stand out, this was one of the ones that did stand out. Whether it was for the right reasons or not, who knows? But yeah, I quite liked it.
I thought it was utterly brilliant. There's no two ways about it. It just had everything. I mean, and I understand that it was a hot favourite to win that night, and it was getting massive airplay on Irish radio. So it would have got a public backing behind it had it got through and represented its country in Dublin. Or what 19 other sets of jury would have made of it. On that evening in the end in spring 1981 is anyone's guess, but aside from that, it was brilliant. I mean, I didn't quite get why there was a guy dressed as a sailor. If there's a parrot involved, he should have been dressed as a pirate, surely, not a sailor. And there was just lots of stuff going off. I mean, it was only a small stage. Imagine a bigger stage. There would have been, you wouldn't know where to look, to be honest. But the whole thing shouldn't have worked, but I think it really did. And if it had got through instead of horoscopes, I would have been happy. The year-old me would have been very happy if that had got through instead of horoscopes. Bogdan, what did you think?
The song is definitely memorable. She has really good vocals. what's happening on the stage is beyond me. I don't understand everything that's going on there. And a parrot, a sailor, someone playing the drums, guitar. I don't know. And is my pet parrot dying in the end? Like, did he had enough? I don't know. It was definitely fun to watch. But I don't know what was going on there. Like, it was a bit chaotic.
You're thinking of the Monty Python sketch. Anyway, James.
I just want to ask, did anyone else notice? We saw, like, obviously there was the parrot. She's dressed in neon yellow and has like a parrot on her shoulder. Did anyone notice the tennis player running around in the background, or was that just me? That was just me. Okay. As a song, I thought it's very upbeat. It's got a bit of a calypso feel, and I can see why it was getting massive airplay in Ireland, why people are enjoying it so much, because it is fun. It's a bit campy, a bit ridiculous, but it's fun. I can understand why people loved it. That staging, though, I think that was what put it second rather than first. That staging, to me, looked like a group of people came together 10 minutes before, said, right, we're going live in the National Song Contest, and, well, I'm going to do this. Oh, that's good, I'll do this. And there was just so much happening, and you didn't really know where to look, because at one moment you've got the parrot running around with a trombone, because parrots play trombones, apparently. And you've got the sailor, this, that. I think there was just too much going on. I think if it had just been the singer and the parrot, I think that would have tied it together a lot nicer, and it would have been better presented. But yeah, I think that was death by staging. But yeah, absolutely madcap and brilliant, and this is why we love Eurovision. It's absolutely crazy things like that you describe to someone else, and they go, no, seriously, watch this. This actually happened.
Yeah, you're right. It probably was a death by staging. So that's our review of the 8 songs. Just to tidy up, Johnny Logan did an interval act. He did What's Another Year, and he did another song. I've got to look what the title is. It was called A Little Bit More, which is not a bad little song as a follow-up, but it never charted in the UK. I don't know what it did in Ireland. There were 10 juries, and each jury had 10 members and allowed to give 1 vote. My Pet Parrot got 18 votes, and 12 of those came from 2 juries. The Galway jury gave their votes in Irish as well as English. So with no Irish songs, we did actually have some Irish in the national final. And of course, we know that Horoscopes won. So guys, I'll start with Sarah. What were your overall views on the 17th National Song Contest?
Well, I think sort of compared to the final that we reviewed a few weeks ago, which was 1993, I felt this had a lot more variety in it. It wasn't sort of ballad heavy like that final was. I felt it was quite entertaining. For me, it was a lovely sort of kind of reminiscence of growing up in the 1980s, because that was just a period I just loved it. And all the glitz and the glamour of it, the costumes, just brought back a lot of happy memories for me. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it.
Bogdan?
I have to agree, it was thoroughly entertaining, and you had songs for almost everyone. A bit of this, a bit of that, and it was just fun to watch. It was entertaining, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
James?
I really enjoyed it. To echo what Sarah said, after 93, that was sort of quite ballad heavy, this felt a lot more sort of upbeat and free, and lots of different styles. It was almost like a sort of mini Eurovision. We had the ballads, we had the madcap songs, we had the dance numbers. So it was a really good selection of songs. I did actually really enjoy watching the whole show.
Richard?
I have to echo everything everybody else has said so far, because it was such a variety. Unlike 1993, it was easier to pick out winners to losers, whereas when you got a show full of ballads, it's not that easy. So the variety did add to it, and it made it more entertaining, more enjoyable.
Yeah, knowing what the Wheel was like in 1981, as I can remember it, it was a show that summed up the time, and it was a very good show. I thought there were 3 standout songs in it, and 5 that, yeah, could try harder, but you could get that in any national final. You've got standout ones, and you've got the also-rans. But on the whole, it was a great national final. Arguably, I think the right song definitely won. But the second and third were probably deserving. Sorry, there were 2 songs that came third. That's listen to me. And yeah, Tony Kenny and the Dusky Sisters came third equal. But I think the Duskies and Karen Black were clearly second and third. They were the next best two songs. Now, just one final thing. Horoscopes won. If that was transplanted into a 2021 contest, or whenever we do have the next contest, and I'm going to start with Richard here, how do you think it would do?
I think it'd be jury friendly rather than televoter friendly. If it did qualify from the semi-final, you wouldn't see it much out the top. Well, it would be within the bottom 5 or 6 in the final if it managed to scrape through that far. But I don't think the televoters would go for it.
Okay, Sarah, what do you think?
I'm inclined to agree with Richard here. I think it's very much a borderline qualifier, the semi-finals. When you think about the standards that we've got today, I think it would probably struggle. And even if it was to get into the final, I think we'd probably be looking at sort of mid-table down to bottom. Pleasant enough song as it is. Not sure whether the outfits would be sort of accepted these days, really, as either. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think this one's a more difficult one to call than when we reviewed Neve Kavanagh in the last review. Whereas at Neve, was it a little bit more straightforward with it being a ballad? This one, it's a bit sort of a harder one to call, really.
I think it would have qualified out of a semi-final. Maybe 7th to 10th. I think it would have got through a semi-final, any semi-final. Because 2020 the outfits would have probably been a toned down or looked a bit different, and the song would be strong enough to carry it through, I think. What do you reckon, Bogdan?
I actually think the song might struggle to qualify, or maybe just borderline qualifier. Something like San Marino would present to Eurovision. I don't think the public would expect Ireland to present this kind of song nowadays. They might expect San Marino to present this song nowadays. Sorry, San Marino, because I really love all your entries, but that's kind of what I think right now.
And finally, as our most Irish member among the panel, James, what do you think?
Well, I'm trying to sort of separate out in two ways, because part of me thinks Horoscopes is very much a song of the 80s, so putting it in 2020, it would just flounder because its sort of music has changed since then. As a group, though, they harmonised very well, they performed very well. Hey, Snaggy. So I think a group with that dynamic could do really well. I think Horoscopes as a song, it would maybe struggle. I'm inclined to agree with you, John, and say sort of 7th to 10th if it did qualify, and then sort of mid to low table at Eurovision. But I think with a different song, but with that level of harmony and performance, I reckon they could do better.
Okay, thanks, guys. Right, that sort of concludes our review of the National Song Contest from 1981. We're going to be doing more of these. We're not going to tell you what our next one is. You'll just have to watch the website and find out. Of course, we've got all of our other features. We've got the birthdays, we've got the One Day Love, we've got the Real Me, and if you, the discerning viewer, wants to submit something for the Real Me, then drop us a line and we'll probably publish it.
And of course, we've got here tomorrow as well.
We've got Here Today, Gone Tomorrow, and we've got all sorts of other features. There's news about Junior Eurovision as it happens, as we find it. There's news about proper Eurovision, all that sort of stuff. So keep tuning into the website. Don't be put off by the fact that we haven't got an Irish accent among us. Most of us have got Irish blood in us somewhere. Just hashtag just saying. And of course, it will be a dull old world if we all agree with the same stuff. All right, so this is the Eurovision Ireland team. This is Richard, Sarah, Bogdan and James, and me, John. Bye.
Bye.